G'day mates, in today's video we're talking about Chapter 3 Season 4. The new season just dropped, I'm absolutely loving it, but there is a lot of new content. Probably the most amount of new content we've gotten in a season in a very long time. I want to go over it. Which shotguns are the best? How do the new weapons work? How does this new chrome splash work? How do you get into the vaults? What are the new best drop spots? There's a lot to talk about, but we also have some big competitive news as well. We have the Kronos Zen finally getting banned in Fortnite, and a whole bunch of players are getting banned for using it. We also have our first tournament being announced, which is this Saturday, and it has a pretty crazy format that I want to go over. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Now, what is going on with a whole bunch of players and pros either getting permanently banned or ban warnings? Now, I've avoided talking about Kronos Zen on my channel pretty much completely because I knew that Epic couldn't stop it. If you don't know what a Kronos Zen is, it's a piece of hardware that you could buy that you could then download scripts onto that would basically give you hacks. It would help your aim, it would help a whole bunch of different things, and a lot of players apparently have been using them for quite a while. It's been a big topic of conversation in the community, and I'm sure you guys are wondering why I didn't talk about it. It's because talking about it only would have made things worse. I would have just been advertising it to people who now know that they can't get banned for it. They would go buy it, they would use it, and it would make the problem worse. But Epic has finally found a solution, or it looks like they found a solution. That's why I'm finally talking about it. In their blog post, Fortnite has said restricted hardware. Starting this season, players who use restricted devices that provide or are intended to provide a competitive advantage may receive an in-game warning. Wait for a second, it's not just a warning. To continue playing, players must remove the hardware and restart Fortnite. Attempts to bypass this restriction will result in a permanent ban from Fortnite. Restricted devices include, but are not limited to, Kronos Zen and Kronos Max. Now, that is insane. And I know what you're thinking, why a warning? Well, it's actually because Epic has never made a statement saying that Zens are bannable. I think for the same reason why I wasn't talking about it, because that would just then advertise them. Even if they said, oh, Zens will get you banned, then everyone responds with, well, you don't know that I'm using mine, and then people go and buy it, you know what I mean? So it looks like they finally addressed it, and it's already started. I had multiple people come into my chat yesterday while I was playing on stream and ask me why they've been permanently banned. And I was like, hey man, do you by any chance use a Kronos? Maybe one time. Well, that's why you got permanently banned. So they're giving them a warning, at least to let them know that it's a banned device, even though everybody knows it's not okay. But now they're getting permanently banned. This is a very, very big thing for Fortnite competitive, because a lot of players and a lot of pros have considered quitting because they just feel like everybody's cheating and Epic's doing nothing. To be fair though, it's not like Epic just took their time. Kronos Zen has been ruining other games for years now. NBA 2K has basically been ruined in the wager scene for years because players use them and they have no way of stopping them. So it's a huge step forward for competitive. Apparently, it's not catching absolutely everybody, but it's a very, very good start. Let's talk about what's new and which weapons you should be using. Now, I'm going to talk about map change in a second. Let's start off with the biggest new change, something we've never seen in Fortnite before, the chrome splash. If you guys don't get how this works, basically, if you go to any of the new chrome areas on the map and you break the material, you'll start getting these chrome splashes that drop on the ground. If you want to get more of them, you can throw them down on yourself and another object like a tree, and then you can either pickaxe that tree, or if you use like an SMG or a fast-firing weapon, you'll basically get infinite of them. You can get more than enough. Now, what does this actually do? Once you throw it down, you then have 60 seconds where you can go into the chrome form. Basically, if you hit your sprint button, you turn into a ball of chrome, you move much faster, and you have the ability to double jump and also phase through walls. And now that's one of the main effects of these chrome splashes and these chrome items. Same with the chrome weapons I'm going to talk about in a second. They make things chrome. And once an item is chrome or a wall is chrome, you can then phase through it by either walking up to it, or if you're in the chrome form, you can then just double jump through the wall. Now, a lot of people are saying this is broken. It isn't. I'm sorry. It is not broken. It is so easy to counter this once you know what's going on. It's very, very good for mobility. It's very, very good for movement. But as soon as you take a single bullet of damage, it cancels and you get knocked out. So if you're trying to run around mid-map using this, it's just kind of like the sandballer from Chapter 2 Season 5, except instead of being below the ground and a tiny little hump in the sand, it's a big ball on top of the ground. Yes, the movement's a bit crazy, but it's pretty easy to knock someone out of it. As far as someone phasing in and then killing you, it happened to me on the first day within the first hour because I had no idea what's happening. happening. But once you know what's happening, the delay is massive. It takes them like a good second to get through the wall, and then it takes them a good second before they can shoot you. If you have any awareness whatsoever, you can just pump them, and then you have all the piece control around you. It's going to be really interesting to see how this affects competitive, especially endgame. Rotating through endgame on low and like those low ground layers will be quite interesting. You can't build, so if you get stuck and if someone boxes you, it's going to be a bit unfortunate, but that's where the phasing through walls might be interesting. In an endgame where your awareness is already at max, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, it's going to be a lot more difficult, but I'm quite excited to see how it goes. I genuinely hope this stays in competitive. I don't want everything new to be instantly taken out of competitive, especially because if this is taken out of competitive, it's one of the only forms of mobility we have right now. There's basically no, well, there is no carryable mobility in competitive right now. There's a whole bunch of balloons around the map that I'll talk about in a minute for permanent mobility, but you can't carry that into endgame. So far, I'm actually a fan of the Chrome Splash. I'm not using it that much when I'm playing Arena myself, unless I'm just rotating around, because honestly, fighting with this thing on feels so awkward. Every time I sprint, I'm transforming, and then I'm jumping out, and I'm transforming. It's just really awkward, but I still think it is a good addition to the game, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in tournaments. Oh, I should also mention it heals you for 1 damage a second of white health, but when you're not in Storm. You can't just sit in Storm and use it, but if you're looking for white heals and you have a Chrome Splash, throw it down, go into Chrome mode, even just sit in a box, and you will gain health. Let's talk about the new weapons, and let's start off talking about the shotguns, because that's pretty much the main factor on whether you're going to enjoy a season or not. There are currently 3 shotguns in competitive. You have the lever action shotgun, which you know how that works. You have the prime shotgun. You might not know how that works. It was in last season, but it was only in pubs, not competitive. And then you have the Evo Chrome shotgun. So which shotgun is the best? The Evo Chrome shotgun is by far the worst. Do not use this gun. I'm sorry, just don't use it. I very rarely say that about weapons. I'm always like, oh, you might be able to try it, maybe in certain scenarios. It is garbage. As you do damage, it levels up. I have tried this weapon at legendary rarity, and it is still garbage. I have no idea how this gun is supposed to function. The pellet spread is like half horizontal across your screen. So maybe if you're fighting a squad and they're lined up in a 1x1 facing you all in a row, you'll do more. I just don't understand what the point of the shotgun is. Yes, it has a higher fire rate, but it just doesn't hit anywhere near hard enough to be worth that fire rate. Yeah, the whole Evo system is quite cool. You do more damage and there's a bar, and as you do more damage, it levels up. But leveling it up just doesn't seem to make it that much better. It still feels awful even at the top rarity. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say, unless they buff this weapon, I don't see a use for it. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe some pro's gonna go crazy and find out some insane strategy, but right now it feels garbage. So it's pretty much down to prime shotgun or lever action shotgun. And this is where it gets interesting. I truly believe it's personal preference. It's playstyle. The lever action is far faster. You can edit, move, pull it out, shoot so much quicker. Your mechanics can be so much smoother, but then the prime shotgun hits so much harder. So lever action shotgun at like, let's say around purple rarity, I think it does like a 140-ish headshot damage, and that's with every single pellet, like wall to wall, point blank. The prime shotgun though at green rarity, I think does like 170 headshot on the first shot. So 2 or 3 rarities down, it's still doing way more headshot damage. And again, that's at so much more range. You can use the prime shotgun from like more than 1 to 2 boxes away and still do decent damage. The lever, you've got to be like in their box or on the wall. So it really does suit that playstyle. But if you don't know how the prime shotgun works, it is just that, it's primed. The first shot does far more damage, and then the remaining 3 shots are a lot weaker. They're not so weak that you shouldn't use it, but if you've hit like a 40 tag on your first shot because you whiffed, you're not going to be able to do 160 damage with the next pellet. You're going to have to shoot at least 2 and hit 2 pretty good shots. So that's the downside. So if you're a faster, more mechanical player, you're going for quick edits, you're piecing people up, lever action shotgun is probably going to be your jam. If you are a bit slower of a player, you just hit really hard, solid shots, and you like playing a bit more defensive, like playing a bit more range, you're not as confident to hit those clean edit peaks, probably use the prime shotgun. Play around with both, let me know how you go, but that is the main distinguishing factor between the 2 shotguns. The lever action, you just need to be way, way closer. If you're finding it's not doing any damage, this is not the striker pump. It has very, very big bullet spread very quickly. You need to play more on the box, on the walls. Moving on to the assault rifles, and we had a very, very big change in the assault rifle meta this season. We have the burst action assault rifle being vaulted, at least in competitive. I don't know if it's still in pubs, but it's out of competitive. Now, that leaves you now with the Evo Chrome burst rifle. You then also have the Ranger assault rifle and the Hammer assault rifle. Not going to count the DMR. Don't use it, especially with snipers now one-shot headshotting, which I'll talk about in a second. It makes no sense to use a DMR. So the new AR, this one's a bit weird for me. I've played around with it quite a lot, and it is far better than the Evo Chrome shotgun. It has the same factor as the shotgun, where if you do damage, it levels up, which is very, very cool, especially if you're going for Storm Surge in competitive with it. No one's farming damage with an Evo Chrome shotgun in competitive, but with a burst assault rifle, you're going to be farming a lot of damage, so you could really level that bad boy up. It shoots 2-shot burst. At hip fire is also very, very strong. As far as at max range, it does seem to do the most amount of storm damage of any of the weapons, but it's when it gets that kind of closer to medium range that isn't quite in the box, isn't quite at a distance, it does get a bit sketchy. You also lose that spray potential you have with the hammer assault rifle, so I'm not fully sure where I stand on the Evo Chrome burst. I'm sure pros will probably start using it and we'll get a good idea of how well it works in competitive, but at least as far as in arena and more W key tournaments, I don't think it's going to be as good as the hammer assault rifle. I just don't think the Ranger has any place. I don't know why the Ranger assault rifle is still in the game. It's just boring. It's not a bad weapon, but as long as there's a fast firing weapon like the hammer that does like basically as much damage, there's just no reason to use it. They need to either go all the way to an infantry rifle that shoots really slow, really precise, and that's where you get the reward, or just get rid of it. It just doesn't make sense where it's currently at, in my opinion. I don't see why I would ever run a Ranger assault rifle over a hammer. Now, hammer assault rifle, the bread and butter, it's the best assault rifle in my opinion. It goes with all the shotguns, it goes with all the playstyles, it's good for long range surge, it's good for spraying, it's good in the box. I just think the hammer assault rifle is the superior assault rifle and pretty much should be your loadout almost every single time unless you're onto something that I'm not onto. How do I feel about the burst rifle being vaulted? I am happy about this. This was a change that I was looking forward to hopefully happening. It wasn't one where if the burst rifle was in, I'm gonna be like, oh, the season's terrible, I'm not playing. It's not that bad, but it did really negatively affect how Surge works in my opinion, especially with the more aggressive Surge changes. Teams that had good drops uncontested with high ground guaranteed like Covert could just base up and hit 100 tags from like Narnia, just hitting 500-meter shots consistently because the gun was just way too easy to use. The biggest bonus of the gun that I do feel a bit worse for now going into the season is it was very good for controller players to allow them to get their long range surge, where with previous assault rifles with almost no aim assist at range, it is a lot more difficult. That is the main bonus why I liked the burst rifle in the game, but I just think we've trialed these red dot first person guns and I just don't think they make sense. The MK7, the burst assault rifle, both of them have just been way too powerful, and I don't like what they've done for the meta. If teams just had 500 surge from setting up on a mountain, other teams are dropping edge map who have taken like 2 fights, they've beaten a whole duo, done 400 damage, they're still down on surge. I just think they were a little bit too strong. I think they're a little bit too oppressive, and also they were a little bit boring, at least in like arena and regular games for me personally. Like the red dot, like it just really led to a lot of third partying, a lot of people sitting back 500 meters from a fight in arena, just tagging you, and it just didn't really feel that fun to use, especially with the new shotguns. With the Evo Chrome shotgun being the only fast fire shotgun that is terrible, trying to run burst AR and like a lever action or a burst AR and a prime shotgun would have felt really awkward. So I am quite happy this gun is gone. Again, if they kept it in the game, I wouldn't be too upset, but I'm interested to see how Surge plays out, and especially how edge map uncontested teams can now do better without every other team having 500 Surge before first zone. Now, a big topic of conversation for all of Chapter 3, the submachine gun meta. What is the SMG meta? The Stinger is vaulted, and no, they didn't bring back the combat SMG, and no, they didn't add an even stronger SMG. This is the weakest SMG meta we have ever had. We now have the suppressed SMG, which honestly, I think is a little bit of a loot pool clogger. I'm just not using it unless it's right on spawn. It just doesn't shoot fast enough. The bloom is too big to make it worth it. This is not the old suppressed SMG from like Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 or early Chapter 2. It's feeling a little bit garbage. So that leaves with the rapid fire SMG. Now, a lot of people are complaining about this, just saying it's Stinger 2.0. I disagree. This gun is not as strong as the Stinger. It has way too small of a clip size. It shoots bullets way too fast. Hear me out. I know shooting bullets fast sounds stupid. It does almost no structure damage. So if you try to use this to like, let's say you get in a box, someone puts up a stair. You're behind the stair, the player's on top of the stair. With a Stinger SMG, I'm spraying that bad boy through and I'm putting like half a clip into your brain. That's just how I've always played it. But the rapid fire SMG, by the time you've broken that stair, you have like 5 bullets left and they shoot so fast. If your tracking is not absolutely perfect, you're doing next to no damage. I played Arena yesterday for like 15 hours. Trust me when I say this, the Stinger SMG is way less oppressive. Sorry, the Stinger SMG is way more oppressive. The rapid fire SMG is way less oppressive. It's just not as annoying to verse. Yes, sometimes in the box, someone's gonna god track you and hit like 15 bullets and you're gonna go down. But at the same time, a lot of times the shotguns would have done that, or even a hammer assault rifle would have. I just don't think the rapid fire SMG is anywhere near as broken as the Stinger, especially because its range is absolutely terrible. If you try to shoot this past like 3 to 4 boxes, it does like no damage. And because of the lack of structure damage in endgame and competitive, people aren't just gonna spray your walls and bleed like 5 bullets through, because if you're sitting there holding turbo build on the wall, they're almost not gonna break the wall before they have to reload. Yes, it's an incredibly fast reload time, but then you can get a second layer up. I just don't see this being anywhere near as bad as the Stinger SMG, and I think that's proven by the fact that we've had the rapid fire SMG in competitive before, in like early chapter 2, and almost no one used it or said it was broken. We had SypherPK making videos talking about how it's his favorite weapon, and again, in pubs and arena and against players who are less aware, it is quite a strong weapon. You can still pull it out and cheese some people by getting some good close range damage, but it just isn't the Stinger SMG. This is by far the least SMG heavy meta we've had in chapter 3, and I'm honestly very, very happy about that. Sniper rifles, and I have not talked about these in a while. Sniper rifle, now one-shot headshots. You guys know I'm a big fan of this. A lot of people complain about it in competitive, saying it's uncompetitive. I disagree, especially with the lack of solo tournaments. In solos, being headshot sniped, if you're in first place, last game, yes, it sucks. It is awful, but a lot of people don't talk about all the positives of having one-shot headshot snipes in the game for competitive. I think they're incredibly skillful because they are very difficult to hit, especially because the current Hunter bolt action sniper rifle, the bullet trajectory is very slow. It's much slower than the heavy sniper, for example, so it is much harder to hit shots. If you hit the shot, you've done well. Or if you hit the shot, it's because someone's been over peeking. I don't know why people complain when they're standing on top of their ramp, holding still for 10 seconds, shooting at someone, and they get headshot sniped, like, oh man, headshot snipers. It's your fault. You did something wrong. You should be punished for over peeking that hard. I think they are good in the game. I think they are very, very fun. I think they add a lot of excitement, especially in arena and pubs. And plus, if a sniper rifle's in the game, I am never going to use it if it doesn't one-shot headshot snipe, or at least if I can heavy snipe into someone's box. But even then, a sniper should one-shot headshot if it's in the game. So they brought it back. It's one-shot headshot snipe. I know this is probably where I'm going to get the most amount of hate, but I'm very, very happy about this. And after playing arena yesterday and even getting headshot sniped myself 2 or 3 times, I'm fine with it because it is so much more fun and it's so much more exciting. It's worth that frustration because when you hit your shot, it's so satisfying. I'm very, very happy this is back. Mobility, I wish I had more to add here. I wish there was like shockwaves or shadow bombs or bounce pads or launch pads or something. There is almost no mobility in competitive that you can carry outside of the new chrome splashes. If you guys didn't know, I talked about this in a previous video. The reason why a lot of mobility items are gone, like launch pads, is because apparently there is a Discord bot where people can plug in their game file and it will tell them where all the launch pads are on the map. Same reason why we don't have llamas in competitive anymore. I was hoping with a giant season, Epic would have found some fix around this because I'm pretty positive they want launch pads or especially llamas in competitive. They just can't add them because they think the competitive integrity is so low with people cheating, which is kind of fair. It's annoying that cheaters have ruined something else for us, but I'm really hoping if they find a fix to that, we could have bounce pads and launch pads added to the game because they are 2 of my favorite forms of mobility. I would have loved maybe 1 more carryable mobility, like I said, shockwaves, but especially if shockwaves got nerfed a little bit, I'd love to see what shockwaves look like not breaking builds. So they're kind of like impulse nades, but you don't take full damage and they send you way higher. So they're purely for mobility. They're not just for, you know, smashing through layers and jumping through high ground or phasing into boxes. Like they're just mobility. Again, shadow bombs were in the game last season for a week and people seem to really like them. They're mostly solo mobility, not duos, but I'm still intrigued to see how that goes. There's still time for Epic to add something and I really, really do hope they do. Let's talk about map changes. There's been some pretty considerable map changes. You notice there's some major new POIs around the map. One of the biggest changes affecting competitive though is there are now vaults, and these aren't like mythic vaults, they are loot vaults, but they are insanely strong. There's a lot of them scattered around the map. There's a lot of them in big POIs. Covert has 2, for example. You have 1 inside the blimp and 1 inside the cavern. You have 1 that's now inside the new bugle drop slot. You have 1 inside condo. You have 1 inside tilted. There are 2 different types of vaults though. There are 1 that are single key vaults. You will know they are single key vaults because on your map, they only have 1 keyhole on the lock. Then there's 2 key vaults, which obviously require 2 keys. Now, the single key vaults are still insanely strong. They have 2 blue chests, I think 1 regular chest or 2 regular chests, a whole bunch of slurp barrels. You've got big medic kits. You have a whole bunch of ammo. They are insanely good. The double key vaults though are insane. I think you're getting 3 blue chests. You're getting 2 regular chests, 2 airdrops. There's a whole bunch of slurp barrels. Like you are kidded if you open these vaults. Now, how do you find keys? A lot of people keep asking me. It's very simple. they're just random. You just get them from floor loot, you get them from chest loot, I believe. I've just been finding them around the map. When you kill someone, you find them, you can carry up to 3, and this has now buffed a whole bunch of drop spots. When you're in the game and you get a key, open your map, you can see all of the different vaults. That is where they are. I don't need to explain where every single one is, but it's gonna be very interesting to see how this plays in a competitive. For example, I have a solo drop spot that's really, really low key around mid map, and there's a vault right next to it. And a lot of times, just from my tiny little drop spot, I walk out with a key and I get absolutely kitted on loot. Also, rotating to these vaults when you see that they are still, when they're unlocked, is a great way to get extra meds, because especially in solos, or at least mostly in duos too, there is too many meds for people to carry. If you need extra meds, minis, big pots, go to these vaults. Make sure no one's ratting inside, because that's a very easy way to get kills. But I like this addition to the game. I like these vaults around the map. We have quite a few new POIs. We have the new condo area. We have the new bugle area. We have the entirely new area at Sanctuary as well, the big chrome tower. We obviously have the Reality Falls and tree area dying, and now the tree looks a little bit depressing. So far, I've dropped a whole bunch of these new areas. They look really, really fun. The Sanctuary area, I'm not a huge fan of. Like the phasing through walls and the whole metal vibe of it and the lack of material just isn't really for me, especially because when you open chests or you open the loot around this area, you do have that chrome effect where you get 2 weapons out of the chest, which is really, really cool. But you're mostly getting the chrome weapons, and you guys know how I feel about the chrome shotgun. I don't really want that. So those areas have been big top of the list for me, but a lot of these other areas have been really fun to drop. Rave Cave is now being buffed yet again. It now has a blimp added, and like I said, it has a 1 key and 2 key vault. So right now, Rave Cave still has the most amount of loot on the map. It is insanely strong. You can now rotate off the blimp as well. There are a whole bunch of balloons around the map, and I am a big fan of this. You guys are going to say that they're ripping off Apex, they're ripping off COD, but having permanent mobility around the map is fantastic for the game, and I love the way these balloons work. You take the zip line up, you jump in the balloon, you fly around. It is really fluid, it's really smooth, and it's really good for the game, because most of them are around these edge map areas, which helps those POIs that, like I said, when it comes to surge and it comes to rotating, they're going to struggle, especially when they don't have the mobility or carryable mobility in previous metas. Right now, there's no vehicles, and you only have the chrome to get around, which, like I talked about, yes, it's fast, but if you start getting surge tagged every single time you get hit, it's going to kick you out. You're going to take damage. You're going to have to build. So I don't know how good that is going to be as a form of mobility for those edge map teams. Let's talk about competitive. Now, we have the format being announced for the first major tournament of the season, the Placement Cup, on the 24th on Saturday. If you don't know how this all works, go watch my most recent video. It explains how the whole tournament structure works. But basically, this is the first cup. This is the only cup that's going to happen that's going to be a Placement Cup. It's going to put teams into their divisions early. If you miss this cup, it's fine. In future weeks, you'll still be able to rank up, but it's going to take you longer than if you do really well in this first tournament. So this format really matters, and it is interesting. 65 points for a win. Each elimination is 1. So 65 eliminations to get a win in duos. That is one of the most placement heavy formats we have ever seen. And I think this is because this is the one tournament of the season where the pros are going to be versing the casuals. If you're playing in this, if you have over 2,000 points, you can compete. And for the Placement Cup, there is no placement already. That's the point of it. So I think they're trying to make it so the pros don't just run through the whole lobby and drop 50 bombs. And that's why they get put into the elite division. They want to see who is the most consistent, who is playing very well consistently. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I want your guys' opinions. Do you like a format that's this placement heavy, or do you want it to be a little bit more elim heavy? I think it's a little bit too far on the placement end, only because I get what they're trying to do. You don't want people making the high divisions just because they're dropping 50 bombs in the first couple of games and they're not actually really good pros. But now you're going to have a bit of the opposite, at least not in elite division. I think all the top 200 teams are still going to be insanely good, but it does scare me for maybe like the difference between contender and champs division. Beneath that, you can have a lot of people who make it into the second division who are just full placement warriors, and while they might be good at that, I don't know whether they're going to be good enough to then hold up when it comes to the set lobbies or the harder games later on. I guess we'll have to see though. I'm still intrigued. I like that Fortnite is trying new things. I'm not against that. We'll see how it plays out. Unfortunately, we still don't have the prize pool. We still don't know how much money is going to be on the line for these divisional cups each week because there's no FNCS and there's no other cash cups throughout the season, at least not at the start. I have to imagine that it's going to have a pretty beefy prize pool, or at least I'm hoping. The Placement Cup, though, isn't the first tournament we have this season. We have the SypherPK Icon Cup. It is going to be a duos no-build tournament taking place on the 21st in a couple of days. But unlike other skin cups, and I love that PK and Epic have done this, you're still going to be able to win all the cosmetics by placing highly. If you get top 750 on EU, top 500 on East, you're going to walk away with the bundle. But there is a separate leaderboard for getting kills with a trap tower. It's a brand new item. He showed it off in the video. Basically, it's exactly like the OG PK SypherPK Trap Tower, but it's an item. You throw it down, it instantly builds. There's a launch pad, you go up, and you get hit by the traps. Now, because this has been heavily advertised, I don't really think too many people are going to fall for it by like walking into it. I think they're going to learn pretty quickly that if they see a gigantic tower with the launch pad, don't go into it. Players are a lot more aware than what they used to be back in the early Fortnite days when PK was hitting these, but it's going to be fun to use it kind of more like a boogie bomb and throw it on top of them to force them to hit the pad and then go up into the traps, because again, it's no builds. They can't outrun you. If you've got high ground above them, you can just basically throw these at them until you trap them. It's going to be really fun to see how it plays out, and I like that PK came up with that, an epic, you know, doing a big like tribute to PK, but also making a fun way to get the cosmetic. A lot of players aren't going to be able to get top 500 or top 750, especially in the smaller regions where it goes down to top 150. So you have an entirely other leaderboard to be able to play for, where maybe if you get like, I don't know how many kills you're going to have to get with the SypherPK Trap Tower, but I can't imagine there's going to be people getting like 100 kills with this in a single tournament. If you can get maybe like 10, you're looking pretty good. The SypherPK Icon Bundle is not the only free cosmetics you can get right now. We have the Reboot Rally, which is basically a system by Epic to try to get you to bring your friends back to Fortnite. If you invite any of your friends or anyone to come back to the game who has not played in the last 30 days, if they start playing again, you and them will win a whole bunch of cosmetics for free. They look pretty damn clean. You get a gun wrap, a glider, a pickaxe, and you also get, I think it's a spray or it's an icon. Either way, you are getting a gun wrap, a pickaxe, and a glider. That is very, very good. And all you have to do is invite a friend to come back and play the game. I'll put the link in the description down below for how you can invite your friends. See if you get some people back into Fortnite. I know it was a long one. I think that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. Please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.